Missoula's news and weather station.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. It is hour number 2 of the Wednesday edition of Talkback. And Talkback is brought to you by Y West Storage, located out on the Y at 7099 Two Smokes Way. If you would like to find out about pricing and availability of a storage unit, call 510-0590 because they're making room for you. Also brought to you by Phillips Janitorial, offering both residential and commercial cleaning. And no job is too big or small for Phillips Janitorial. Give them a call. Get your reservation in now for the holidays, 406-260-6617. Also brought to you by Bug Off Pest Control. If you live in the Bitterroot Valley, these are the folks to call to get rid of all those nasties that are hurting your home or your business. Call 406-363-1932 because at Bug Off, they don't go to work, they go to war.
The views and opinions expressed on Talkback are not those of the staff, management, or advertisers.
Okay, glad to have you along, everybody. Glad that we have Ryan Busse here in the studio with us this morning, and Nick Christensen over there taking your phone calls and producing Talkback. Ryan Busse is a candidate for governor on the Democratic ticket and just recently declared. And first of all, welcome to Missoula and welcome to the show.
Hey guys, really appreciate you having me. Always good to come down here to Missoula. I drove down from the Flathead today. We've had some rainy, dreary weather up there, and you guys have this bright sunshine down here today. It's pretty nice.
We held it out just for you.
Yeah, I'm sure you did. Rolled out the sunshine in Missoula. That's good stuff.
Absolutely. So tell us about Ryan Busse. A lot of folks have not heard that name before, and especially someone who's running for governor. So go ahead.
Yeah, so I grew up on a cattle ranch and wheat farm, pulling calves and driving John Deere tractors around in circles and squares. I've lived in Montana about 30 years, all of it in the Flathead Valley. I graduated from a real small rural public school with 16 kids. Believe in public schools, believe that we have to fund them, and believe that they're under threat. My kids are products of public schools in Kalispell. I was board chair of Montana Conservation Voters. I've been board chair of Backcountry Hunters and Anglers. I love to hunt and fish. And I spent 25 years in the firearms industry. That's my professional history. I was a sales executive in the firearms industry. And so I'm running for governor because I believe that our state's in peril. I think a lot of us feel the Montana that we love kind of being torn from our hands. And I don't think that's something that's happening to us. I think it's something that's being done to us. And I believe the Gianforte administration and this Republican supermajority are dangerous to our Montana way of life. And I'm running to make a change.
All right. So what has been the response so far? By the way, the phone lines are open. If you would like to, that's why Ryan is here in person. He'd like to answer your phone calls and your questions about state government and why he wants to run for governor. So those phone lines are open at 721-1290. What kind of response have you gotten so far? Obviously, your name is new. You're political newcomer, basically here in Montana. So how's it going so far?
It's been amazing. I encourage everybody to look at our website. It's Busse, Busse, for Montana.com. You'll see on there our launch video, and that launch video has been viewed about 1.5 million times now.
Wow.
It's amazing. I don't know of another launch video out of Montana or frankly any other state that's been viewed 1.5 million times. So I encourage everybody to go take a peek at that. That's just kind of a day in the life of our family. I've been doing events. I launched September 14th. I've been doing events all across the state. Heck, I was in Glasgow and Miles City and Glendive and Havre all last week. I'll be here in Missoula today. I'm in Butte this afternoon. I'm in Bozeman tomorrow. I've been doing this now for 5 or 6 weeks. The first just 2 weeks of the campaign, we had about 2,100 people donate, sign up. We raised a lot of money, and we've been doing it ever since. And at every event, you ask about the events, Peter, at every event, the energy is amazing. There is a lot of desire, a lot of worry. Again, people feel that the Montana that they know and love, there's something going on. It's being sold off to billionaires. The affordability problem is terrible here. And there's so many other things that are, policies I just don't agree with. So I think we can do a lot better, and the people have responded so far. Well,
Governor Gianforte has kind of styled himself as being like the people's governor. He's traveled, he does his 56 county tours, done it 3 times so far since he first took office. And so he is out there pressing the flesh, talking to people, and seems to be fairly popular with folks. So what is the problem with his administration?
Well, I think there's several problems, and frankly, I think I know he's put on a show about visiting people, but he doesn't hold open meetings. Most of his meetings, he calls ahead and gets 2 or 3 supporters, and then snaps a shot and says it's an open meeting. He doesn't release open records. He rarely gives public interviews. Occasionally, he does.
He's on our show quite often.
Yep,
and he takes calls from listeners. By the way,
he does it occasionally, but he doesn't show up at public events. He doesn't do anything like that. So, as far as what I think problems are, look. This tax increase is just sort of emblematic of the way they've run the state. We now have 49 of 56 counties that are suing, or Gianforte is suing 49 of 56 counties, all because they raised property taxes on Montanans when they didn't have to. They chose to do it. They gave away a $2.8 billion surplus to big corporations and the wealthy and made sure every Montanan got a tax increase, every Montanan that owns a home, and frankly, every renter got an increase because that tax increase is going to go straight to your rent. They're ardently, this Ohio result last night, I think it's pretty creepy that Greg Gianforte wants to get in the doctor's office with women of this state and tell them what they can and can't do. At least if we take Kansas and now Ohio last night as any indicator, the majority of people don't agree with that. He's gutting Fish, Wildlife, and Parks, probably the finest wildlife management agency this United States has ever seen, and he's gutting it. And he's attacking public schools, and he's putting our public school system on a road to privatization, same as happened in Kansas and Oklahoma and Missouri, to disastrous results. And so I think all those things combined with people feeling, especially working people in this state, finding it very hard to make a go, but hear why billionaires, fly their jets around. I think that's what's going on.
We're going to come right back. We'll take a quick break, and we have Emmett, Ed, and Al all lined up to talk with you. Ryan Busse joining us here in the studio, Democratic candidate for governor, and we would love to hear from you as well. He'll be with us till 10 o'clock this morning, so the phone lines are open at 721-1290 or 1-800-568-5309, or you can use the KGVO app and message us, and we'll pass that along to Ryan Busse. So we'll be right back after this. We are back on Talkback. 721-1290 is our number, and we have Ryan Busse joining us here in the studio, running for governor. And he's targeting, of course, Governor Greg Gianforte. But we have callers that want to visit with you. So let's jump right in first and say good morning to Emmett. Emmett, you're on with Ryan Busse. What's your question?
Well, I'm kind of interesting. It's great to talk to you. It's fascinating, but I am confused. My question is, how do you feel that public schools in Montana are threatened by a Republican administration? They're never going to go away. Sentinel High School and all the other public schools, they're not going away. I think the problem is we've had too many public schools, the indoctrination, the homosexualization, and a lot of things that parents are very concerned about, Christian students being persecuted. I'm all for, school vouchers to send your children to Catholic schools or private schools. I'm all for homeschooling because I think that public school's been part of the problem. They're never going to go away. They just need some competition. I also think, of course, I was kind of confused also on your comment about high property taxes. Are you for high property taxes or against them or against the suing? Because I do pay hard rent, some bad rent, and our property taxes do need to be lowered. And I do believe that we need less government intrusion in our life, not more. We need to be more free of the federal government, live our own lives, and especially away from the public schools. You can send your kids to a public school if you want, but you should have a choice. It's not a radical thing. It's not threatening public schools. I don't think that behemoth is ever going to go away. So how would you answer my questions? How would you make our state more conservative? Thank you.
Let's let him answer that. Go ahead, Ryan.
Hey, Emmett, appreciate you calling in today. I guess I'll start with the schools first. Hey, I graduated with 16 kids, and 16 out of 16 of us, and went on to enjoy secondary education. Some of us went to trade school, some of us went to college, some of us went to junior college. And that happened very simply because we were products of a vibrant public school system, a well-funded public school system. I guess you and I are going to have to agree to disagree here. Look, we have 1,004 teacher vacancies in our public school system in Montana right now. That's abysmal. That's dangerous. Every single kid in this state deserves the opportunity for a vibrant, healthy public school experience. We owe it to them, and we constitutionally owe it to them. Now, where you and I agree, I think school choice, as far as that statement goes, is a good thing, but using public funds for school choice is dangerous. It shouldn't happen. It will threaten our public schools. Every other state that has tried this, it has gone down this road to privatization, where you pull money from public schools to hand it to private institutions. The public school system has deteriorated greatly. It's happening in Ohio right now. Ohio is marching down this path. Just a few years ago, they were number 5 in public education in the United States. They're already down to number 25, and it's happened in just a few years. So I'm an ardent public school champion. I believe every single kid deserves a well-funded public school. And this stuff that the Republican supermajority, not Republicans, but the Republicans, a small slice of Republican supermajority and our governor are doing, are marching down the path to privatization, and I'm not in favor of it.
What was your view of the Espinoza Supreme Court case decision?
Well, I don't, the Espinoza case, obviously, having to do with that originates somebody from Kalispell, Flathead Valley. I think that the right to do it versus whether a state proceeds with it are two different things. And so I think that we ought to do everything possible as a state to maintain fully funded, focused public school education and not divert monies away, not public school money or public funds from it.
All right, let's get Ed on the line. Ed, good morning. You're on Talk Back with Ryan Busse. Good morning.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
We got you, Ed.
Okay, great. Hi, Ryan. I agree with you on a lot of things, but I do have a issue that's cropping up. I thought it was going to be done a few years ago up in the Flathead Valley. One of my Jewish friends was harassed by Andrew England of the Daily Stormer, and the Flathead Valley did get behind her, Governor Gianforte, and a lot of other people. And I think you know who I'm talking about. I don't want to mention the person's name.
Yep, she's a friend.
But I mean, and she did win a $14 million lawsuit. She'll never see a penny of it. However, I'm Jewish. We have had horrible demonstrations here in Missoula. I feel like I am a target. I am checking into getting security in my home. I am sending money over to Israel to rabbis over there. A friend of mine who is originally from Kalispell now lives in Israel. He's spending time in France with his mother-in-law, his wife, and kids, wants to go back to Israel. He's short on money. This is not getting out there. It's very dangerous to be a Jew in Montana right now. I saw the demonstrations by the white supremacists in front of the Reform Synagogue in Missoula. The FBI made various people aware of the danger of demonstrations. These pro-Palestinians, people who Hamas, that I'm rattling on. I'm very emotional about this. I'm very, right now the state of Montana has a great relationship with Israel, trading partners. Gianforte does have a great relationship with the Jewish community. Where do you stand on this? And how are you going to protect people like me?
Hey, Ed,
thanks for the call.
Not like a minority, like people of color calling in. They deserve compassion and protection and full rights too. I'll get off my soapbox.
Oh, that's okay. Well, we're up against a break, but I want to give Ryan plenty of time to answer your very good questions. So we're going to come right back after this quick break. He'll talk to your concerns, and we also have Al and Jeff both waiting on the line for Ryan Busse, running for governor on the Democratic ticket. Give us a call, 721-1290. We'll get you in the queue as quickly as we can. Hey, we're back. Ryan Busse joining us here in the studio this morning. A very impassioned call just a moment ago from someone who's Jewish and very, very concerned about some of the protests that have occurred here in Missoula and throughout the state. Your thoughts?
I'm going to get to Ed just a second. Emmett asked two questions. I wanted to just roll back to his property tax question. We're in the middle of a property tax debacle in this state, and it's because the Republicans, led by Greg Gianforte, raised everybody's property taxes, and that means higher rents for everybody. It was an easy fix. They could have adjusted the rate just like every single legislature in the past has done when we had a reappraisal situation. They didn't do it. So as you guys look at your property taxes, as you look at your rents going up, just remember this was a purposeful effort by Greg Gianforte and the Republican supermajority. Now, Ed, I hear you, man, and I feel for you. And it's a dangerous thing. And I saw these protesters down here in Missoula, what was it, 10 days ago or so, or 2 weeks ago? I don't remember. It was damn frightening. And I thought, how hard would it be for the governor of this state to come out and say, hey, Nazis are not welcome here. But did I hear anything? No, I heard silence. Worse, we have now we have this sort of hate-filled political situation in our state and in our country that seems to focus on every single way we can hate each other. And I saw this last legislative session focus on minorities of different sorts and all sorts of culture war traps being laid by the Republicans. And frankly, the Democrats did a pretty good job of stepping in a few of them. But I wanted to tell you that this has to be a place where we figure out ways to help each other instead of ways to hate each other. And I'm very worried about it. I think the leader of this state has to take leadership and be it seems like a low bar to me to decry Nazis displaying all sorts of hate-filled images and statements in Missoula or any other town. Pretty low bar, but it should not be a low bar. We can decry that. All I can tell you, look, when I grew up on a ranch and you saw somebody broken down in the ditch, they maybe had a flat tire or something, you pulled up beside them and you figured out how to help them. You didn't ask them 14 questions about how you could hate them, what color you are, who you identify as, who you love, what's your national. You didn't ask any of those questions. You helped them out. You got back on the road. It was a place that helped each other, not hated each other. And that's the Montana that I love. That's the Montana we have to get back to. And this hate-filled crap, I don't even have strong enough words to condemn all of it. It has to stop. And our political leaders need to decry it.
All right, let's get right back to the phone. Say good morning to Al. Al, good morning. You're on with Ryan Busse, running for governor. Go ahead, please.
Yes, recently there were two state rebates. The first one was, I believe, an income tax rebate, which was automatic. The second one was a real estate rebate you had to put in for. My question, did you put in for the second one? Mr. Busse, did you put in for the real estate rebate? Yes or no?
Absolutely. Yes, I did.
Did you put it? Did you send it back to the revenue department after you got the check, or did you put it in your bank account? Remember now, the Republicans are just horrible. They're doing everything wrong. What did you do with the check?
Well, when you get a check in the mail, I believe you deposit it, and that's precisely what I did. I'll tell you this.
Oh, there's plenty of places, food banks. Why didn't you take it down to the food bank? How about that first one that was automatic? Did you send it back to the revenue department, or did you take it to the food bank to donate it?
You know, Hal, there was 64,500 people in the state of Montana
don't give me this stuff.
Al,
my question is, what did you do with it?
Al, let him answer the question, please.
There's 64,500 people in the state of Montana that were due that rebate, and they did not get it. And the reason they didn't get it is because there was all of this red tape that was placed on that rebate by the Republicans and the governor. They know what your geocode is. They know what your address is. They know where you live. Why? Because they send you tax bills. So why are we penalizing all of these people in this state who are owed that rebate? And let's face it, that rebate is just a cover up for this property. It's a one-time rebate for this property tax increase that they've laid on all of us. And so I don't know why you would want to defend a system that makes it harder on people to get the money they're owed and then pick on people when they take the money they're owed. This is their money. Now, if you're so worried about people being owed money, then I think you ought to be plenty worried about this property tax increase being laid over the top of everybody very purposely. So I'd reserve just a little bit of your anger about where all that money is and where it's going, and you should ask the Republican supermajority and you should ask the governor why they increased those taxes and had to try to cover it up with a rebate.
But I asked you the question, which is still not answered. What did you do with the automatic check?
I think I answered pretty clearly. I cashed it. I think my wife actually cashed it. I don't remember precisely what day. We could try to get her on the line. My guess is she signed her name on it and took it to our bank and cashed it. I could try to get date and time for you, but I don't remember. And then we probably did what everybody else in this state does. We paid mortgages, we bought groceries, we paid vehicle payments, same as everybody else does.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks for the call. All right, let's get Jeff on the line. Jeff, good morning. You're on with Ryan Busse. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Ryan. You've thrown out a whole bunch of straw men there. First of all, I wasn't calling in on this, but with the property tax and having to jump through hoops, as you say, I don't think you realize that all of that was there because it was an online application and it was to protect against fraud. There's a lot of unscrupulous people out there who would like to register for me, and there's a lot of information out there that you can get just by going out to the cadastral. You can get all the geocodes and everything else. So they wanted a whole bunch of information. Some of it was property related and some of it was personal related, but it was for fraud protection. It wasn't because of a bureaucratic ineptitude and trying to make it difficult for us to get our money.
Jeff, there's 64,000 Montanans that didn't get the rebate. And that's where the fraud is. The fraud is those people are owed that. The state knew their data. They could have simply sent them a check, and they didn't do it. And the reason they didn't do it is because they didn't want those 64,000 people to jump through all those hoops. That's why they made all those hoops.
That's not true, because they did. I got my money direct deposited. I didn't get a check. Right? So that's how the vast majority was done. And to decry the method when the system was there, and I can't argue with your number of 64,000. I know that I didn't get my income tax rebate right away, but it was because there was a problem with filing my federal return for that year, and I had to deal with that. But the state very graciously, Sheila Stevens, I want to shout out for her in the Department of Revenue. She took my information and she got it through even without a return based on previous returns and subsequent returns. So the state is doing stuff.
Jeff, there's 64,000 people that are due this money. It's their money, and they didn't get it. And the reason they didn't get it is very simple. They could have been mailed checks just like you get mailed checks. The state has every single shred of information for that rebate. Instead, they made people on fixed incomes that don't have good internet access or don't do stuff on their phones all the time find stuff like geocodes and past year's tax information. Why?
They did that to make it hard. I'm 71 years old. I was able to do it.
Great. I think that's fantastic.
They can have people help them. Yeah. So my other point is I'm a product of a private education. And this is why I really called in. You brought up the fact that the Republicans want to rape and decimate the Montana public education system, and they want to do no such thing. They've established charter schools which are under the purview of the local public school boards. They are not privatized. They will never be privatized. The Montana Education Association is scared to death of competition. Meanwhile, our public the statistics for literacy and math proficiency are going in the toilet. We're spending more money than ever on education and getting poorer and poorer results. So what's wrong with letting parents choose a school, and if it happens to be a charter school or some other school, to be able to take that money and inject a little competition into the system? Why are the public school system afraid of competition?
All right, tell you what, Jeff, thanks for the call. And I've just told Ryan we need to take a break. Sorry about that. But he'll answer all those questions when we return after this quick time out. By the way, the phone lines are clear now. If you've been trying to get through, Ryan Busse is running for governor. And we appreciate him being here in the studio with us. So he'd love to take some more calls from you. It's 721-1290. We'll be right back in just a moment.
What's for dinner?
Okay, we're getting some very, very passionate folks on the phone. And, of course, we appreciate Ryan Busse here in the studio. Your response to what Jeff had to say, especially about the whole property tax and real estate tax thing.
Maybe I'll start with the charter schools and school system thing.
Okay.
Look, that sounds good, and I'm glad that there are people who can and want to send their kids to a Catholic school or a private school or homeschool. I believe in that freedom, and I think Montanans are owed that freedom. What I do not believe in and will never support is the divergence, is taking public money and pulling it away from our public schools. So let me give you some figures that might illustrate this. Right now, you wonder why we're having problems in public schools. Well, we started with a $2.8 billion surplus in the last legislative session, and we still have the lowest entry-level pay for our teachers in the country. In fact, in some surveys, we're ranked 51st. How did we get to 51st? There's only 50 states. We let a territory beat us. Now, if we believe in something, and I do, then we have to fund our public education, and our kids deserve this. We ought to be making sure that those teachers are paid and employed. We can't. I was just all across eastern Montana, and Jeff, this charter school thing and these private schools and all this choice sounds fantastic until you're in Glasgow or Malta or Glendive or Miles City or Shelby, or need I go on? Another 50 towns? Why are we thinking of pulling money from those kids who need a band teacher? They need a football coach. They need a bus driver. And we're going to send it to rich kids in Bozeman so they can have another quiche pan or yoga mat at the Petra Academy that Gianforte funds? No, I'm not down for that. I want every single kid in Montana to have equal opportunity. And to do that, we have to aggressively and purposely fund public education. Those kids are owed it, and they're owed it through our Constitution. As far as taxes go, I want to say one of the things that happened with this tax decision that the legislature and Gianforte made is they very purposely shifted the tax burden away from corporations, big time away from corporations and the wealthy, and onto average Montana homeowners, and then by effect renters too. They were told about it. The budget department warned them about it. They said, look, this increase is coming down the pike, and if you do this, it's going to shift all this burden away from these big corporations like Northwestern Energy, which, by the way, just raised your rates 28.4%, even after they got this big tax break. So what did Montanans get for that whole decision? They got nothing. Northwestern Energy got big additions to the bottom lines, and everybody else got a big tax increase. That was a purposeful decision. These guys want to make it hard on average working people in this state, and they want to make it really easy on corporations and the wealthy. And I'm just not down with that.
Okay, let's get another call in. This is Paul. Paul, good morning. You are on Talkback with Ryan Busse. Go ahead, please. Hello, Paul? Hello, Paul, are you there? Okay, let's go then.
If that was Zoom, you'd be saying, hey, Paul, you're on mute. You're on mute.
Okay, Tom, good morning. You're on Talkback with Ryan Busse. Go ahead.
Yeah, good morning. Ryan, I'm willing to give you a shot here now, but I need to know where you're coming from. Public schools are failing all over the nation. Kids can't read in this country, and they can't do math, and we're busy teaching them about transgenderism and stuff. So there's an individual in the Montana legislature from Missoula. I believe the name is Zoe Zephyr. And I just like, to get where you're coming from and your philosophy of life is this individual a man or a woman? If a person puts a dress on and removes their genitalia, can that enable them to change their gender? So, this is the stuff that's being taught in public schools and stuff. So I just want to know where you're coming from. Is this individual a man or a woman? So I'll get off and listen on the radio.
Okay, thanks for the call.
Hey, Tom, I appreciate you calling, but I really don't appreciate the taking cheap shots at people trying to stoke some culture war hatred. This is this sort of like my example of pulling up beside a car and asking people 14 questions about how we can hate them. I'm not about that. I'm about helping people. If you want to focus, you want to make up straw men about what's going on in schools. My kids have been in public school. I still have a sophomore in public school. They're not teaching this stuff. They are teaching people to help people instead of hurt people. And I'm unclear what decent, reasonable Montanan thinks that it's a bad idea to be decent and respectful to people. It should be a pretty dang low bar. That's what I stand for. If you want to take up your day by worrying about these made-up culture wars, go for it. But I'm just not down with that.
Okay, we're going to come right back. 721-1290. We have Paul. I think we have Paul back. We also have Emma and Marilyn all wanting to visit with Ryan Busse. We'll be right back after this. Okay, we're back on Talkback, and everybody wants to talk to Ryan Busse, running for governor, and he's here in the studio with us this morning. I believe we do have Paul on the line now. Paul, good morning. What's your question for Ryan Busse?
Thanks. My question is that when people talk about the culture war and then talk about other people hating, and it's like that's not even a discussion. You're making statements about other people, often not naming them. And, you bring up GN40, he's your candidate, and this is the normal routine. But what I want from my politicians is conversations. I want when people ask a question about how do you do that and who's behind this, they can say who's behind it, where it started from, where the idea came from, and who's promoting it. We don't get any of that in Montana. And you talk about Montanans as if every Montana who thinks differently than you is a hate monger or whatever, or conspiracy theorist or something like that.
I haven't heard that.
Actually, Paul, I want to be. Can I? Yeah. You make an assertion there, and I'd like to be really clear about this. I've been traveling the state. We launched our campaign September 14th, and the vast majority of people, the huge vast majority of people in Montana want to be better versions of themselves, not worse versions of themselves. I don't in any way, shape, or form, just a second, you made a statement. I don't in any way, shape, or form believe most people are hate-filled or want to be that way. I do think there's a very small slice of radical Republicans who've been elected to the legislature and who Gianforte either supports or condones or fuels, that they want to get the worst out of people. And I just don't believe it. I think they are not representative of the vast, broad swaths of awesome people in this state. I've run across people here, just fantastic stories. I talked to a guy outside of Havre here this week, and I needed somebody to cut up my elk. And so I shot an elk Tuesday. I didn't have time to process it. So I was headed over to Havre, and I called over there, and I got a hold of this guy. And somebody gave me his info and said, well, you might not agree with his politics. I said, well, I don't care about his politics. I care if he can cut up my elk. So I drive in there, and he says that you turn right at my mailbox, and it's got a big Trump flag. And he comes out wearing his Trump hat. And he gives me he has lots of opinions, gives me quite a bit of talking to for 10 or 15 minutes. And then we start talking about this governor's race. And you know what it turns out? I didn't ask him to take down his flag. I didn't ask him to take off his hat. I found out that we agreed on about 75 or 80% of the stuff that we care about in this state, and he did a great job cutting up my elk. And I took a picture with him, and I put it on my social media, and I was happy. He said, I'm only going to do it if I can wear my Trump hat. I said, Bob, I love that you wear your Trump hat. Let's take a picture here. So finding commonality with people is great. We just have to cut through these radicals who are telling us to hate each other. I won't stand for it.
Can you name some of the radicals that are doing that?
Well, sadly, a bunch of them are from the Flathead. There's three of them.
Name them.
How about the Regier family? I don't agree with their politics, and I think they've encouraged some pretty ugly stuff. And I think Greg Gianforte trying to take freedoms away from people by celebrating removing the right to privacy from the Constitution, telling women that their health care rights are under threat. I think those are all dangerous things.
All right. Thanks, Paul. Thanks for the call. Let's get Emma on the line. Emma, good morning. You're on Talkback with Ryan Busse. Go ahead.
Good morning. I just want to make a comment about the phone calls that have been coming in about schools. I know, excuse me, I know Emmett said something about we need to have competition in public schools, and I know Rob Nadelson has said that as well. And my comment is, public schools wouldn't mind competition if the playing field was equal. Public schools have to take every student that's in their district, whether they're homeless, whether they're hungry, whether they're special needs, either cognitively or physically, and the school has to adjust for those needs. Until private schools, Catholic schools, charter schools, whatever, are equal to what we have to provide in public schools, then I don't go along with charter schools. And saying school choice, everyone in this state has a choice to send their child wherever they want to go to school. And I'll tell you what, during the pandemic, when everyone was at home, we ran our buses and we fed those children who probably wouldn't have been fed without the public schools. So until charter schools and private schools can have an equal playing field, I don't go along with charter schools. That's my comment.
All right.
Hey, I really appreciate you calling in. I do want to say there's an important point here. Every single kid in this state is due the opportunity to be educated in public schools and to be educated equally in public schools. And so you're right. Most of the private school movement across this country is profit-based. People want to do it because there's a profit in it. And there are some things that are important in our society that just ought not, they shouldn't be driven by profit. Again, I'm not against really good private schools. I'm not against people's opportunity and freedom to take their kids to private schools. I am against anything that degrades the public school experience and opportunity for every single kid in this country. Rich kids, poor kids, tall kids, short kids, I don't care. They all deserve the same opportunity. And you're absolutely right. Private schools, they don't have to they can pick and choose. They can pick the profitable kids. We deserve better than that, and especially across the eastern 2/3 of our state where it's critically important. Like, there's not choices in Shelby. There's not, come on. I mean, every single school, we need to fund them and properly run them so that our kids in this state have opportunity.
Yeah, let's try to get one more call in before a break, and this is Marilyn. Marilyn, you're on with Ryan Busse. Go ahead, please.
My blood is boiling. So the public schools used to be funded by our logging, timber, mining. Now they're funded by, I think, pot shops and casinos and the public schools.
Marilyn, you feeling okay this morning? You're already off on a tangent here, but
I love it. The Democrats, I just set them on fire. They can't stand my rhetoric, and neither can, Okay, so you got such a hate on for Gianforte, and yet you're trying to talk to us like we're the haters.
Marilyn, do you have,
children,
I'm sorry, Marilyn, do you have a question for Ryan? I mean, I realize you want to go on and on, but what's
don't answer
your question?
our questions, Peter. When we ask them questions, they do not answer.
Ask him a question.
They're so good at their BS.
Ask him a question.
And coming off. So...
One question, go.
Are you for the dismemberment of little unborn children in the womb? Up to where is your limit on killing babies?
All right.
Sir.
Thanks for the call. All right, so, yeah.
So you asked a question about women's health care. I believe that the governor of Montana has no right to be in the doctor's office with the women of this state, creepily looking at them, telling them what they can and can't do with their health care decisions. It's not my decision. It should be a doctor's and a woman's and their God's decision between all of them. It's not mine. So, and it's definitely not Greg Gianforte's. And this weirdness that he wants to get in doctors' offices with women and tell them what they can and can't do. Sorry, I'm not down with that either.
Okay, we're going to come right back. We have a 1-minute timeout. We have Skip and Kevin. We'll try to get as many calls in as we can with Ryan Busse running for governor on the Democratic ticket. 721-1290 is our number. About 8 minutes left in the show. We'll be back. We are back on Talkback, the final segment. Ryan Busse joining us here in the studio this morning, and let's get some calls in. Skip, good morning. You're on with Ryan Busse. What's your question, sir?
Thank you, Peter. And Ryan, I've been listening to every word. I was glad for the break. I was having a Maryland recovery moment. And so here we are with a Democrat that's going to run for governor. And personally, I'm a Republican, but I do believe that you answered vigorously questions that have been asked to you. And so because you are a Democrat and you are an executive in the firearms industry as your background. So do you have anything in particular that you think should happen to our Second Amendment rights, being a Democrat, but then also being in the firearms industry? I'd like your take on that. And then secondly, these are two things that I try to find out where people really are. That first is firearms. Secondly, in all of our national forests that are on the western side of our state, in particular in the Bitterroot, where we have the possibility of having a mine happen that's going to deal with not precious metals, but rare
earth, yeah.
Yeah, and so where do you stand on that? As a Democrat who would be caring about environmental things, hopefully as a conservationist, not a preservationist, and certainly not an exploitationist, but how do you feel about a mine going in a sensitive place in, say, the southern Bitterroot? So firearms and mines. I appreciate your answer, sir.
All right. Hey, Skip, I appreciate you calling. Those are good, thoughtful questions. So let's start with guns. I did work in the firearms industry for over 25 years. I'm very proud of my history there. And I've also been an ardent critic. I wrote a book about this, about some of the practices of the firearms industry and how some of the radicalization and irresponsible behavior of, again, a narrow slice of people in the industry and then sometimes gun owners have threatened our freedoms. I'm all about protecting our freedoms, and I think that what my experience is that largely relies on voluntary responsibility. Laying a bunch of laws over the top of everybody, in my experience, that's not, there are basic laws, of course, that we need to uphold, like background checks, pretty basic. I think this Maine situation tells us that we need ERPO laws, which are, laws that allow us to take guns from very violent individuals. And those are basic things that I don't think infringe on our freedoms. I want to protect our freedoms. I don't think it's okay that we let armed, angry guys march up and down streets with loaded ARs trying to scare kids. I think that's very dangerous. I think it could be potentially very dangerous for those kids, but I think it also endangers our freedom. So I'm all about responsible gun owners kind of taking back the mantle from what I think is an irresponsible fringe. And I say that because, heck, I was just hunting a couple days ago with my boys. I believe in defending myself with guns. I own lots of guns. I don't even know how many I own, and I'm proud to own them. But I also believe in responsibility, and it's laid out in my book. As far as the rare earth mine down the Bitterroot, look, mining and the things that go around with it are an important part of the Montana economy. They always have been. And we've also had some horrific...
That's why we're the treasure state.
That's right. We've also had some horrific abuses and very, very bad environmental impacts. And so before any mine can go anywhere, we have to make sure that it can adhere to all of the regulations that we as citizens have agreed must be there to make sure that sensitive places are not ruined. And so I think that I sure wish we'd have done that. We're still cleaning things up around Butte and Anaconda. The Zortman situation where we have cyanide heap leach mine leakage into the groundwater.
What about Libby?
It's horrific. Libby, we're still cleaning up.
Right.
So I believe in the sort of things we have to do to maintain our economy and our lifestyle, but I also believe in making sure that we do it right.
All right, let's get another call in. We don't. Well, go ahead.
Probably do our stump speech.
Oh, yes,
right?
yes. We try to give the last few minutes. I'm sorry. Thanks, Nick, for reminding me.
This is why this dude's the best producer in Missoula now.
Amen to that. All right, so we're going to give you the last 2.5 minutes to share your story, why you should be elected governor of Montana.
Well, that's kind of you guys. Look, this place has made me a better person. I believe in Montana deeply. And it's not just the place, it's the people, and it's the systems, and it's the respect that is so endearing in this state. And I believe it's under attack. I think that this last legislative session and this governor are instituting things that are not Montanan. They're tearing at the Montana we love. It's pretty obvious to me that choices are being made to make it more difficult on working people and the folks who need to live here, and they're making it way easier on the wealthy. We're cutting taxes for the wealthy. We're making it easier on corporations. We're starting to tear at our public schools. The average Montanan needs that. We now, in Bozeman, and I know a lot of people pick on Bozeman, but just in the last few months, the average home in Bozeman has sold for about $800,000. $800,000. The median income in this state is about $60-some thousand. I don't remember exactly where it is now, but we've got a huge gap between this thing that is being created around us and what Montanans need to live here. So when we talk about things like public schools, public schools are in peril. And one of the reasons it is because school teachers can't afford to live and work here. How do we expect to fully fund and fully staff our schools or our hospitals? Or I was talking to the to the police in Havre last week, and they told me one of their main problems is they have spots for 20 deputies. They can only find 14 because people can't afford to do it anymore. So I want to get back to this Montana that's vibrant. It's for everybody, not just the wealthy. We do the things that are necessary to maintain our way of life, and that includes defending our public lands, our access. Look, we've got a governor. It's a little trivia question. How many governors in the history of this nation have sued to block river access, public river access? Well, I'll give you the answer. The answer is one. Greg Gianforte sued to block river access because it was near his house in Bozeman, right? That's just illustrative about how this state is changing. And the people that I talk to, they don't like it. And I'm here to fix it.
Ryan, thanks for being with us. We appreciate it. Thank you
very much, guys.
You bet. Okay, so Nick, what's coming up on tomorrow's fabulous
from
program?
8 to 8:30, we're going to have open phones, and then 8:30 to 9:30, we're going to have City Talk because they're off Friday. So we'll have Ginny and Brian Hensel, and then we're going to meet with Megan Condra and Dr. Sam Matz from Community Medical Center from 9:30 to 10.
Have a great day, everybody, and thanks, Ryan, for being here. Appreciate it.
Thanks for